This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and today we are talking World of Warcraft Patch 10.2.7. We are talking Pandamonium, the time-running event. What's that? Hey, that's a really good question, and it's the question on everybody's lips. What is Pandamonium? What is time running? And why are Holly Longdale and Jeremy Feasel seemingly talking about it alongside Plunderstorm? Is this another completely new way to play World of Warcraft that will also need an entirely new login screen and character? Maybe? Actually, in this video, we are going to be looking at everything we know about Pandamonium, and be warned, okay? Because actually, we know quite a lot. From datamined items and armor and trinkets and gems and there's some other stuff too. So if you are determined to go into the patch with not even the slightest clue about what is about to happen, don't be a dick, don't watch this video, go and watch another one of our videos instead. But for the rest of you, join us as we comb through the files and clues and piece together the mysteries of 10.2.7 Pandamonium, okay? Go, 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 go. What they've told us. Let's start with the absolute basics. We know this event is called Time Running, Pandamonium. I said the absolute basics, which already tells us plenty. Time running is like time walking, but not. Running is faster than walking, so presumably time running is like a faster version of time walking, right? Sounds legit. And Pandamonium is spelled wrong to include the word panda, and obviously Pandamonium literally means wild uproar, noise, chaos. So even if all we had was the name of this event, you might reasonably expect a faster, more chaotic version of Mists of Pandaria time walking. And not to give too much away right now, but data mining certainly seems to back that up. I feel I should also mention, and I don't think this is important, but it would be weird not to bring it up, Pandamonium is also the capital city of Hell in Milton's Paradise Lost, filled with foul demons, which if you have your big brain, I don't care what anyone thinks, speculation hat on, and on this channel, we never take it off, then you could also try and link this to demons, so the Burning Legion or Hell. So, jailer? Like I say, I don't think this is actually a thing to read too much into. In fact, maybe we shouldn't think about it at all. Seriously, stop thinking about the jailer. This is supposed to be fun. You're spoiling it. Another thing we know is that it is a PvE event. In a recent Twitter post talking about the community reaction to Plunderstorm and some criticism about how the new Battle Royale game mode was an exclusively PvP event, Holly Longdale said, "We have Season 4 coming up, and for all you PvPers out there curious what we have in store for you, Pandaface Explosion." And first of all, okay, I don't know how you play it, but in my soft hands, Plunderstorm is also absolutely a PvE event. Stealthing around the zone, picking up other people's scraps like a starving hyena, and then hiding in a bush for 20 minutes isn't exactly Arena 2's, or it turns out very fun, but it's the Taliesin way. But if this tweet specifically positions Pandamonium as a PvE event in contrast to Plundy Time, then Jeremy Feasel's where he says Plunderstorm is here and Pandamonium is coming, probably the wildest pre-expac period in WoW history. That kind of suggests that they are similar in terms of scope. And are they? When I said Mists of Pandaria time walking, but faster, you probably got a vague image in your head of what that might look like, and it was probably something you felt that we had essentially seen in WoW before, or at very least, you knew where to file it in your ways to play WoW database. This tweet suggests that might not be the case, because if Pandamonium really is worthy of being mentioned alongside Plunderstorm in terms of dev time, originality, or surprise, then just like that game mode, it's likely to be something far less expected. Unlike WoW's Battle Royale though, it looks like Pandamonium hasn't managed to stay a complete secret. Ever since the 10.2.5 PTR, there have been things appearing in the data that, well, I think you'll agree, are clearly connected to this event and can help illuminate what it's all about. The data. One file that everyone has been talking about lots for months, but especially in the last few days since it was highlighted again in a Bellular video, is the Datamined file names Vampire Survivors mode, game mode, client scene, and 10.2.5 Vampire Survivor mode data creatures. Vampire Survivors is a bullet hell roguelike where millions of enemies all home in on your character while you move around collecting power-ups to help bust a path through ceaseless hordes and collect the gems they drop to level up. Coins collected are used to purchase power-ups in between games that enhance your abilities and make it easier to progress further next time. So it's a game about progression, it's a game about kiting and perseverance. Most of all though, it's a game about becoming massively overpowered and mowing through more enemies than you can even count on screen. It's awesome. I'll be honest, it is pretty easy to see how this could translate into a very enjoyable and relatively easy to implement game mode, especially now that Plunderstorm exists, which establishes that we can have whole other login screens and characters specifically for these other game modes. Oh hi, it's me, Taliesin. I've never designed or built a video game in my entire life. I don't know the first thing about it, and I wouldn't know where to start, but I'm pretty sure this would be very easy to implement, so make it happen, team. Stop slacking. Pop a player in one of the old Pandaria scenario maps, get a million Shah or whatever to attack, drop a few power-ups, and have at it. Well, yes, but there is a couple of niggles that I have with this idea. In Vampire Survivors, all the abilities are passive and automated. You never press a button to throw a knife or fire your wand or your cross or snap your whip. They all happen automatically on timed loops, and you could easily do this in a WoW version of the game, sure, but it would abandon one of WoW's biggest strengths, in my opinion. That being that it is the MMO out of all MMOs where it just feels really good to press your combat buttons. Those Datamined file names are pretty unambiguous though, and Pandamonium, being a Vampire Survivors style game, would seem like a smart bet, but it's not the only thing that could point towards the basic premise of time running in the files. There's also Panda Timewalking season quests. These also popped up in the 10.2.5 data and consist of 15 chapters of story quests from Mists of Pandaria. Actually, it consists of basically every story quest from Mists of Pandaria. The leveling quests for every single one of the zones, for Horde and Alliance, plus the 5.1 story quests, 5.2, which is the Isle of Thunder, 5.3, and 5.4, which is of course the Siege of Orgrimmar raid. And by the way, did I mention that a bunch of weapons from Siege of Orgrimmar recently found their way back into the data? If I didn't, I feel like it'd probably be important to mention it right about now. Almost as if they planned on bringing it back for Pandemonium time walking? Could this be time walking story quests, where players are invited to relive the entire narrative campaign of the expansion with the most celebrated narrative campaign of any WoW expansion in history? I know a lot of people would go absolutely wild if that were the case, myself included. Yes please, I wish to play the whole of Mop's story in one patch just for a jolly. Count me in. Question: why would they call this time running? Why would they call this Pandamonium? This doesn't sound like a faster or more chaotic version of standard time walking. If anything, it feels like it would be way more time consuming and meandering, and also very much a do it once and you're done kind of thing. Not the repeatable gameplay that it would need to be compared to Plunderstorm. And then you might think, okay, well obviously then it's neither of these things. Perhaps it's the old challenge modes from Mists of Pandaria back again. Except if it is, it's a very different version of the challenge modes, because Holly was asked that exact question on Twitter and she replied, or maybe something even better? Oh, she's such a tease, but I love it. Maybe it's a temple run style thing, where they've just sexed up that Mists rep quest where you roll along the Great Wall, or the Bronze Dragonflight running through different timelines quest from Dragonflight, beefed up with power-ups and rewards, and it could be, honestly, any of those things. But I haven't even started on the real evidence yet. This is where it gets very interesting, okay? Because we might not know which, if any, of these formats Pandemonium is going to take, but we can say with some confidence pretty much literally every item that will appear in it. Everything in Pandemonium. Like everything else we've looked at so far, all of what I am going to show you now first appeared in the Seeds of Renewal 10.2.5 PTR data. And there is a lot. Weapons, transmog sets, trinkets, rings, necks, consumables, and you may be thinking, wow, Tally, that sounds very exciting, but how are you so confident that these items are tied to time-running Pandamonium? And that's a good question. It's a pretty simple answer. Let's take, for example, just completely at random, this plate set, which is called the Time Runners set, and uses the appearance of an old Mists of Pandaria plate set. I'm ambiguous enough for you. There are 4 time running sets in the data, 1 each for plate, mail, leather, and cloth, and each one based on an old Mist set appearance. The gear in each one is item level 13 and requires level 10 to use. And in fact, you'll see that just about everything I'm going to show you in this segment is item level 13 and requires level 10 to use. Certainly seems like that whatever the time running event is, it is capped at level 10. Or perhaps it starts at level 10, or perhaps it's always level 10 with no leveling involved. We'll come back to that, because what's even more interesting is the fact that each of these 4 sets has a total of 5 gem slots on them. Hey, let's talk about the gems. The Time Runners Opal, Amethyst, Sapphire, Ruby, Emerald, and Topaz were all added in the 10.2.5 data. It probably won't surprise you to learn that they require level 10 to use and award the standard speed, mastery, crit, leech, health regen, and haste that you might expect. There's also the ephemeral gems added in that same PTR, which require level 10 and offer split stats. So, for example, the Amethyst awards mastery and haste. We don't have any actual numbers on any of these gems yet. So whatever time running is, it definitely looks like it will involve picking up 5 of the gems you want and whacking them in your armor, which, you know, it does seem a bit like Vampire Survivors, that, doesn't it? Gaining in power to deal with more and more enemies. Did you like those armor sets? Well, there's more armor sets. Each armor class also has at least 1 other set in the data, all of which are item level 13 and require level 10 to equip, all of which use the appearances of old Mists of Pandaria sets, all of which have unique names that weren't in Mists, like the Cloth Passion Silk set, and all of which feature no gem slots and are otherwise perfectly normal, except for the chest piece on each set, which all feature an on-use ability: transform into the avatar of Chi-Ji, the Red Crane, gain 50% movement speed and 3 new damaging abilities for 45 seconds. It also says that transforming damages enemies and heals allies, but there's no cooldown listed on this ability. Is it single use? Is the idea that you're running around in your time running set, find this chest piece, put it on to become Chi-Ji for a bit, and then swap it out again? The very sharp among you will have also noticed this ability confirms that time running is a group event. You have allies. So do you have to have allies? You would if it was the challenge modes back again. Or is it optional to team up like it is in Plunderstorm? One thing we can definitely say, Pandamonium and time running does appear to be all about the power-ups. Because as well as these gemmed armor sets and new abilities, there were 4 rings in the 10.2.5 data, although only 2 different passive effects between them. 2 of these rings allow you to avoid damage taken equal to your dodge, parry, or block at the expense of no longer being able to dodge, parry, or block. And 2 of them convert 50% of your overhealing into searing light, inflicting holy damage on nearby enemies.
Hello friends! You may be surprised to hear that I've been doing a bit of square spacing, which is great because they just so happen to be sponsoring today's video. If you've been keeping up with the WoW discourse lately, you may have seen a few charts and graphs floating around. Some figures, some stats. Now, I don't really know what those are about, but they did remind me of Squarespace's sweet analytics platform. I absolutely love digging deep into who visits our little corner of the internet. And why? Looking at our engagement stats, apparently 16 people visited our blog page, which is funny because we don't have a blog. I'm learning something new every day. You can also look into sales figures if you really want to self-flagellate. You can see how each product sells, and look, here's a line graph with no X or Y axis indicating nothing apart from line goes up or line goes down. Of course, Squarespace does give you precise figures in every instance, which I love, but I also just like to take a broader look at things sometimes. It's kind of going up. in a way. And of course, you can look into your website traffic and find out exactly where everyone is coming from. You can break it up by social platform, YouTube, unsurprising, or search engine. Apparently, DuckDuckGo is still a thing. Cool. And even by keyword. Let's have a look. Taliesin and Evitel. Make sense? Wikipedia, age. Really? Really? I'm gonna need a word. Curious to peer into your own crystal ball of hard analytics? If you're keen, just head to squarespace.com/TaliesinEvitel or use code TaliesinEvitel for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And I'll leave you with a challenge, internet. Next time I browse my analytics, I want to see some good searches. Taliesin Evitel lovely. Taliesin Evitel absolutely glowing complexion. Taliesin Evitel fill in the blank. Keep it clean though. I mean it, because I'm watching. That's squarespace.com/TaliesinEvitel.
There are 7 new neck items. Ankh of Reincarnation is a one-use cheat death. Divine Prayer Beads restore 20% health. It has 10 charges. Likewise, the Gigantifier, which increases your damage done by 15% for 15 seconds with 10 charges. Nick of Time increases the user's haste by 25% and decreases the attack speed of all enemies within 20 yards by 25%, which is insane, has 5 charges, which is super insane. The Miniaturizer causes an enemy to inflict 25% decreased physical damage and has 10 charges, and the Scarab Shell reduces damage taken by 25% for 15 seconds and has 10 charges. So again, there does seem to be a focus on almost disposable gear here. Again, with these necks, there are also trinkets, which super interestingly all seem designed to replace what some classes bring to a group. So Blood of Manaroth is just a lust effect. Chaos Brand is the Demon Hunter passive that increases magic damage done to targets, and Flicker Blossom is Blink. When these were first data mined in the 10.2.5 PTR, there was a lot of talk on forums about how they were Guardians of the Dream trinkets for a Mirdrasil, but that's just because not many people really made the connection with Timerunning. But they are definitely for Pandamonium. They're level 13 and they require level 10 to use. The most interesting thing about these for me is that it suggests perhaps Demon Hunters will not be usable in Pandamonium, just like Drakthir aren't available in Plunderstorm. And if that's true, it means this event will indeed also require new characters to be made to take part, just like Plunderstorm. How would we feel about another event that your mains are actually totally excluded from? I don't know. There is another trinket in the data as well, the Time Runner's Chalice, which you'll notice has no effect on it, but I suspect it's actually low-key the most fundamental part of this game mode. My guess is that all players will receive this chalice in their Time Runners starters kit. An important part of the gameplay loop will be finding and filling it with drafts. These are files that increase all the stats that you'd expect them to, but unlike files in the live game, they aren't temporary. Let's look at the text on the draft of Critical Strike. Empty the contents of this draft into your chalice to permanently increase your Critical Strike. And it's the same for all of these. All of these will permanently increase the stat in question when combined with your chalice trinket. And I have questions. First of all, there's gonna be a lot of dying in this mode, right? When it says permanent, it doesn't mean like forever, it means until your game is over, which doesn't really happen in normal WoW. This is definitely designed for a standalone, separate, contained game mode. And with that in mind, can I only add one, or can I add lots? Can I add lots of the same? Is this a constant progression system that allows near limitless power upgrading in the short time that the game lasts? If it is, then that does once again link in with the Vampire Survivors thing. A good game of Survivors will end with you basically being invincible and destroying everything till you win. Is that possible in Pandemonium? But then how does that link in with the story quests? Okay, what is Pandemonium? Seriously, what is it? What is it? I think the evidence is pretty strong that Pandemonium and Timerunning is in fact a Vampire Survivors style completely separate game mode, just like Plunderstorm before it, where you create a character, jump in at level 10 or level to level 10, like in Plunderstorm, and basically just kill enemies until you win or get overwhelmed. Honestly, when you think about it, that's not even too different from the Proving Grounds that were introduced in mists. But Pandemonium looks like it is chock full of power-ups, of which I would guess these ones we found are only a selection. It doesn't seem like there will be non-WoW standardized new abilities like in Plunderstorm, or at least there's no evidence of that yet, and tackling this new mode as a group is at least possible, maybe even mandatory. So why are those story quests in the data? Well, it's worth noting that the quests are named Pandaria Time Walking Season, not Time Running. And, you know, could these actually be two different events? Could 10.2.7 see Pandamonium, a new separate bullet hell Vampire Survivors game mode, and a new extended time walking season, one that allows players to relive the story of Pandaria, and a Siege of Orgrimmar time walking raid? You know, if I had to guess, yeah, actually, that's exactly what I'd say at the moment. And you know what? There's a question beyond all of this too, isn't there? Why? Why Pandaria? I mean, because it's a brilliant expansion, obviously, but if we are getting to replay the entire story again, might there be an even bigger reason? A more immediate narrative reason leading into the war within? Might the dev team, in all their wisdom, think it might be a good idea for some reason to remind us of Yasharaj? I told you the big brain speculation hat never came off, didn't I? But what do you think? What do all of these Datamined things mean? What is Pandemonium? Give your best guess in the comments below. And actually, when 10.2.7 arrives, I will go through the comments, I will find the comment that's the closest to getting it right, and you will win a War Within Digital Deluxe Edition. With that said, if you do comment, please ignore any replies from anyone that isn't this exact YouTube channel. Anyone else would be a scam. But I'll give you a Digital Deluxe, that's a promise. And thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make all of our work happen. And seriously guys, thank you, because without you, there'd be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evitel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Quasi. No, my name is Taliesin from me and Evitel. Until next time, cheerio.